for me. There we go. Can everybody see that okay? Is it
Yeah.
showing, Mike? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Looks good.
Okay, so like Monica said, my name is Carly Lacey, and Robert spoke to you all about some practice management issues and touched on mental health a little bit. What I'm going to talk to you about is how to maintain your mental health while navigating these new waters. And whether we like it or not, life has changed. And as a result, most of our practices have changed, as Robert mentioned. Because of the very nature of our profession, we already had this stressful existence, and now we're adding so many new layers of stress and anxiety based on what's going on in the world, and we really want to prevent that from leading to poor decisions. The one thing I want to put out there is that it's perfectly normal to be experiencing stress and anxiety right now, even if you didn't have a history. As a JLAP peer volunteer, my goal today is to give you a simple toolkit that will help you through the stress of the pandemic, because I think it's important for all of us to remember that coping with our stress can only make us stronger, both individually and as a legal community. I also want to direct you to some resources from JLAP that I've found helpful in managing stress and anxiety while working through this new way of life. From the online research and my conversations with behavioral health professionals and my personal observations and experiences, I put together 25 mental health wellness tips for lawyers in quarantine. We'll try to get through these quickly. I know some of them may seem very obvious to you and you may already be implementing them, but I really think it's important to highlight these and put work into our mental health because it helps us feel better and perform better. The first tip that I have is accept what you cannot control and practice radical self-acceptance. This is the concept that we're doing too many things in this moment under fear and stress, and that's what we tell our clients not to do because it's really not a recipe for success. So what radical self-acceptance is accepting everything about yourself, your situation, your life without any question or blame. And it's doing the best that you can in your situation and doing the best that you can to improve your circumstances. I know that this is difficult for lawyers because we are perfectionists and we like to maintain control, but we really need to try to work on this concept. My sister-in-law, who is a lawyer down in North Carolina, sent me this quote, and she found it on Instagram, and I apologize for not giving anybody credit for it. I don't know where it came from, but it says, "You're not working from home, you're at your home during a crisis trying to work." And that really summarizes what I was trying to get across with this point. As you can see from the picture, crazy things are going to happen to us right now. What's going on in this picture has happened to me at least 3 times over the past 2 weeks. It is likely to happen today. I have 3 kids here at home with me, 3 little girls, ages 11, 7, and 5. And so there are going to be interruptions. Working from home can make you feel pressure to to prove your ability to work remotely. And for that and other reasons, you might end up putting in more hours than usual, or you might get stressed over interruptions like what's going on in this picture. But you need to remember that you're doing the best that you can in an impossible situation. It's a challenging time, and if we try to work in the same capacity that we once did, it could have detrimental effects on both our mental and physical health. And I'm by no means telling you to disregard your ethical obligations. All I'm saying is to keep this concept in mind as you work through this. Stick to a routine. This helps you maintain a sense of normalcy, so go to sleep and wake up at reasonable times. Develop a written schedule maybe that provides time for both work and self-care. This is especially important for those parents who are now tasked with homeschooling, but it applies really to everyone, even if you don't have kids. Maybe you're providing caretaker services to a family member. But keeping a schedule is good for productivity, and it helps you maintain that work-life balance that we're always preaching about regardless of what's going on in the world. I spoke to Dr. David Ferris, who is a psychiatrist in Parkersburg, about these tips, and this was the one that he really highlighted, and he said that he's really hitting home with his clients or his patients right now that they need to maintain a good sleep schedule. The next tip is to dress for the social life you want, not the social life you have. we don't have much of a social life right now, at least I don't. And if you're social distancing, you don't either. But it's tempting to slack with your personal care right now. So my suggestion is to maintain your personal hygiene, shower, dress in comfortable clothes, brush your teeth, maybe try some other things like baths, facials, give yourself a pedicure, wear some colors that make you feel happy, clothes that make you feel good. I'm used to wearing suits and other professional attire to the office. So during the first week or so, I was wearing my PJs to work because here at home, because one of my daughters had some health issues. So I was basically rolling out of her room and coming right into my makeshift office. And I noticed that it really had an effect on me. So I started to take better care of myself, and I put on some decent clothes so that I could get in that mindset, like, okay, it's time, I'm getting into my work mode now. And I figured out that how we dress can really affect our mood. Here's a photo that represents what I'm talking about. I have to thank Mark Moses for this photo. You know, be more like the day 1 photo and not the day 10 photo. I'm not telling you that you need to wear a suit every day at home. You know, you can dress appropriately for any court appearances or mediations or anything like that that you may have, but wear comfortable clothes that you feel good in, but maintain your, personal hygiene. Next 2 steps can sometimes overlap. You should set aside time every day to move and exercise. There are many free movement classes being offered right now through apps. We'll talk about some of those in a minute, but there are also many available on YouTube. If you have kids, I highly recommend Go Noodle. It's a great way for the whole family to move together. You also want to get outside because there's nothing better than a little bit of fresh air for your spirit. But if you feel uncomfortable about contact, maybe try going out first thing in the morning or just go out into your own personal space, like your yard. I know when this first started, like I said, one of my kids had some health issues. We were worried about exposure. So my oldest daughter and I really wanted to go on a run. So we ran a 5K in our backyard, and we figured out that about 35 laps around our yard was a 5K, and it was really fun. But you're also seeing a lot of videos about that online, people running marathons on their balconies. You don't have to run a marathon, but just get outside and get some fresh air. If you're at high risk for COVID complications or living with someone who's at high risk, I read online that some people are just opening their windows and blasting the fan, so that will also work. I've also seen people using the Verilux light therapy lamp. What this does is it duplicates the natural light of the sun, and it's said to fight the blues, energize you, improve your sleep patterns. One of the CEOs at one of our system hospitals actually uses this, and she really recommends it. What I personally do is I try to knock these both out at the same time. I try to jog early in the morning before anyone comes out because I live in a very busy neighborhood. But if I miss that window of opportunity, then what I do is I might get on the trampoline in the yard with my kids over my lunch break, or after I'm done with work, I might go out there with them. If the weather isn't great, then, and all else fails, sometimes my family and I just have a dance party on the porch or in the house after dinner. Right now, we kind of have a COVID quarantine theme song, which is Underdog by Alicia Keys. My kids love to dance to that after dinner. So that's what we do. Just remember to spend 30 minutes on each of these tips every day, at least 30 minutes. Reach out to others. This is my personal favorite, and this is the one that I use the most. Social distancing does not mean social isolation, excuse me. When I reached out to Dr. James Berry, who's a psychiatrist here in Morgantown with WVU Medicine, he emphasized how important it is for us to stay connected right now. He encouraged us to set up virtual meetings and or social hours, or just call someone on the phone. I FaceTime at least 2 family members every day. That person is, one of those people is usually my grandma because she's in her 80s and she's quarantined in PA. And so I just check on her every day. But I also have a social hour every Friday with my dad and brother and their families, and it's really been amazing. I actually got their permission to share a little picture, a little snapshot of our last meeting. And as you can tell, my dad and stepmom up in the top left corner got a little crazy with the wigs this last time around, but we like to have fun with it. And I don't want you to think that because we're laughing in these photos that we take this as a joke, because we don't. this pandemic has touched my family like it has many of yours. My dad works in biomed, so he's responsible for a lot of the equipment that's keeping COVID patients alive right now. So he's on the front lines. My stepmom had to close her business. We're not sure if she's going to be able to reopen. And my brother has been furloughed, and he's got 3 kids to take care of. So it touched us the same way that it's touching all of you. And this is our way of coping and supporting one another. And the one thing we've said since the first meeting that we had several weeks ago was, why weren't we doing this the whole time? You know, my brother, like I said, he's got 3 kids. My dad works a lot. I've got 3 kids. And so I've talked to them more in the past 5 weeks than I talked to them through the whole beginning of this year. And when I started looking online in preparation for today, I noticed that everyone's saying the same thing. You know, why weren't we doing this before? Why weren't we maintaining this contact this way before? And so I found this quote. It's just a simple quote from Twitter that I thought really summarized what everybody was saying. It's like, we should have been doing this. It really brightens our day. What I've done is I've actually started implementing this with my team at work. So we've only had 1 meeting so far like this. We had been doing them by phone, but every other week we're going to start meeting by Zoom. And I found that during my trial meeting, it really changed the demeanor of my colleagues that I work with, the people on my team. And so what I want to do is try to maintain that connection that I have with them that we once had by just stopping in each other's office. So I know most of you are familiar with these, but here's some of the apps that I've used. Zoom, which the base package is free, but you can upgrade. My employer provides WebEx, so I use that quite a bit. And I've also used FaceTime for some of my personal stuff. This old lady just realized that you can actually add several parties to a FaceTime call. So that was a really interesting development for me. But you don't have to do this by video either. You can just have a phone call. You know, I had a phone call last week. A friend of mine from law school called me just to check in over lunch, and it was so uplifting and really made my day. So along these lines, I've proposed to JLAP that we start a phone chain among the bar members to try to keep in touch with each other. But I don't think that it needs to be that formal. I think you can do it amongst yourselves. You know, find that group of attorneys that you would typically have a lot of contact with, and just make sure you're touching base as often as possible. This is pretty obvious, but maintaining a healthy diet is crucial for your mental health. Stress and eating don't typically mix well, and many of us are probably eating very poorly. It's easy to do when you're home all day. I know I did it initially. I wasn't eating well. In fact, here's a little schedule that my husband found online and texted me. You know, this is how I felt. This is what I thought my schedule was, or what I felt like my schedule was when this all first started. I'd have breakfast, a second breakfast, morning snack, pre-lunch snack, and then I'd have, you know, lunch, dessert. It just got crazy. So when I realized after a couple of weeks that this wasn't good for me, I started tracking my meals, because I have to track them because I have no self-control. But some of the apps that I use are MyFitnessPal, which works really well, and they actually have some free workout videos right now for you. And the one I use the most is iTrackBites, and it helps you track your food intake, your water intake, your exercise, all in one place. That one does have an annual fee, but I find it helpful. I should mention to you also that if you drink alcohol, do it in moderation during this time period. I know it's tempting to kind of escape with alcohol. However, it can really be detrimental to your mental health if you overdo it. Create a self-care toolkit. This will really look different for everyone, because everybody has different needs, but there are a lot of articles out there that talk about self-care strategies that involve this sensory component. So here are some ideas that were recommended to help out. You know, use a softer weighted blanket. I know weighted blankets are really popular right now. Drink some warm drinks like hot chocolate or tea. Look at photos that have good memories for you. I personally use comforting music. I like the Lumineers, so I find a place in the house where I just listen to them and kind of relax for a minute. I also use the essential oils that are listed here. For one of our kids, we use rocking, but a lot of people use journals, books. Here are some that you may not be as familiar with. The coloring, I know it seems silly, but bubbles. I was surprised to find out that mint gum, Listerine strips, and ginger ale all are good for anxiety regulation.
ever sits in client meetings.
And this whole concept is actually something that was recommended to me by a school specialist for our children. And whenever they're having a difficult time, what I do is I give them what we call their Zen Zone box, and they go to this special place in the house where they sit down and they work through their Zen Zone. And what my husband and I found is that it not only works for them, but it also works for us. And so I highly recommend it for adults too.
They're creating a proposal for us. We have a meeting with them on Monday to go over pricing and shit. But
Seems like somebody might not be on mute. If you guys don't mind muting your video.
Give us a week or two.
So tips 9 through 12 really go hand in hand, but spend time with your children and your family. This will strengthen your relationships and support system and make you feel better. If you don't have kids and there's nobody else living with you, then just reach out, like I said, by those mediums that we talked about. FaceTime someone, call someone. It will really strengthen your relationships and support system and make you feel better, like I said. So if I've found that my kids have a way of making me laugh like no one else. So I like to spend a lot of time with them and my husband during this period of time. But, you know, we've been in this for a while. So if you're running out of things to do for family entertainment or just personal entertainment, there is an article coming out through DRI that was written by my friend Lori Miller at Jackson and Kelly, and it highlights some great resources for families. What we're doing at our house right now is we're working on a COVID time capsule. Again, you can do these even if you don't have children. We also do themed dinners. So every Tuesday is Taco Tuesday, and we play music that's relevant to the culture. And we also had, we had Italian night one night where we ate in our formal dining room, if you can call it that. But we played music and we got all dressed up and we had appetizers and we had candles going, and we let our kids drink out of champagne flutes. They just thought it was the greatest thing, and we'll remember it forever. But other things that we've worked on are like glove gardens. To get our garden started, we turned it into like a science project for everybody. So those are just some ideas. But while doing this, you also want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt and a wide berth, because we're all cooped up. It can bring out the worst in us. We all have our moments where we're not our best. So just be patient, be compassionate, be flexible. You want to communicate empathetically, not only with your family, but also with your employees and other lawyers. You want to remember that everybody is going through this and people might be handling it differently. Expect behavior issues with your children. If you have children, you know that this has been a difficult experience. They're cooped up, they're not with their friends, they're not able to go to school, and they're maybe acting out. So respond gently. Everyone is struggling. If you have a partner, use each other to take breaks. That really works for us in our house. And finally, focus on safety and attachment. We're really living in unprecedented demands. We have work deadlines, we have homeschooling, we have extracurricular activities, we're sanitizing our house. We're trying to provide this entertainment for everybody. I joke with everybody that I talk to in my family that in the past 2 weeks, past 4 weeks, I should say, I've learned to play piano because I had to help my daughter with her lessons. I've earned about 10 daisy patches for Girl Scouts. And I had to learn my youngest daughter's hip hop routine for her dance showcase so that I could help her with it. So we can become consumed with meeting expectations in all of these areas, including work. But we have to remember that this is really scary for our kids. And it's really scary for some of our family members. So focus on strengthening the connection that you have with them by spending time with them and providing them reassurances that you'll be there for them during this time. And it will in turn make all the other concepts that I've talked to you about a lot easier because everybody will be more relaxed and calm. Find your own space for work and privacy. So I'm coming to you today from my daughter's bedroom, which I've turned into my makeshift office because my home office is being used for piano lessons, Girl Scout Zoom meetings, and homeschooling. But I have this space that I designate as my workspace. And that helps me mentally separate work life from home life. And it helps you maintain that work-life balance that we're always preaching to everybody about. This is a big one for me. Consume the news and mediation. I hate social media, but this was also something stressed by Dr. Barry when I talked to him. There's so much out there on COVID-19 right now, and there's a lot of information that's being sensationalized, and it's alarming. But we need to identify those few trusted sources that you can check in with consistently and limit it to a few times a day at set times. Don't linger on the news or Facebook. The one source that I like to look to, and this doesn't give me any update on COVID, but it's just happy news, is SGN with John Krasinski, and it stands for Some Good News. And it's just really fun. It's some inspirational and funny stories during this difficult time. So when you're not working, you want to try to find a project, learn to play an instrument, put together a puzzle, paint, read books, binge watch Tiger King. I've done it. I know a lot of you are doing it. Find something that will keep you busy and engaged to take breaks from what's going on in the outside world. And also find something that you can control and control the heck out of it. There's a lot of uncertainty out there right now. And if you pick something in your little corner of the world and you tackle it, for instance, like organizing your house, it helps anchor us when things in the bigger picture are a little chaotic. What I've chosen to do is I've taken projects that really tackle both of these items. I've organized toys and kitchen cabinets, dressers, clothes. I've cleaned out the basement, washed the cars. My next project is a kitchen backsplash, which should be interesting. More to come on that, I'm sure. But here are some other potential activities. Like I said, organization, spring cleaning, putting furniture together. But you can also do things to help you be a better lawyer, like work on your skill set. There's CVN, which I believe stands for Courtroom Video Network, maybe, but it's a website that lets you watch other trials that people have put on. And you could catch up on those legal articles that maybe have been those magazines that have been stacking up in your office. There's all kinds of things that you can do to keep yourself occupied when you're not working. These next 5 steps or tips, excuse me, all provide a good foundation for that post-traumatic growth that Robert was discussing. The first thing that you can do is you can notice the good in the world. There's a lot of scary information out there, but there are so many stories of people sacrificing and donating and supporting one another in miraculous ways. So counterbalance that heavy with some hopeful information. You can utilize SGN, like I said, or any other news source that provides those inspirational stories and ideas. You also want to help others. There are so many ways, big and small, that you can help people right now. You could reach out to your neighbors, you could donate your time, you could donate money, you could also donate your skill set. I know there are opportunities through the ABA and the West Virginia State Bar to help provide some legal advice to those who can't afford it. You want to find humor in each day. What we're experiencing right now and what the world is experiencing is not a joke. There's a lot to be worried about, and with good reason. But if you balance that heaviness with some humor, like the wig situation with my dad, you can really help yourself get through this. I get a kick out of all of the memes that are going around and all the Tiger King videos, which I was really hoping to incorporate into this presentation, but quite frankly, they're just not very appropriate. But you want to remind yourself that this is also temporary. Things are tough right now, and it feels like it's never going to end. But this too shall pass. Life may change. We may have a new normal, but one day we'll feel free, we'll feel safe, and we'll feel connected again. So you just need to keep that in mind. You also want to find the lesson in this. This crisis can seem sad. It can seem senseless. It can also seem avoidable maybe, but use this stressful time to build a happier, more resilient, and more meaningful life. So appreciate those things that you didn't before. Maybe use this experience as a catalyst to be a better version of yourself. The last few tips that I have for you involve taking quarantine moment by moment. We don't know how this is going to play out. So you want to chunk your time into small pieces that are more manageable. And that may be hour by hour. It may be day by day. It may be week by week or month by month. Whatever it is that helps you, you want to move through the stress in pieces. And you also want to maintain a connection to your faith. For those of you who do practice religion, maintain that connection. Find services online. Pray in whatever manner you're accustomed. Maintaining that bond with your faith can provide you with hope, which in turn lifts your spirits. And you also want to breathe. It's not only required to live, but there are many articles out there that discuss the healing properties of breathing. So take some time each day to utilize that annoying app on your Apple Watch that tells you to just breathe, or maybe look online for some breathing techniques, maybe even try meditation. And finally, if you find yourself unable to manage your stress and anxiety and on your own, then there are many resources out there for you to ask for help. JLAP is a free, confidential program that's available for attorneys, judges, law students, and basically anyone in our profession who's struggling with, among other things, stress and anxiety. I've included here a link to the JLAP page that contains a list of all the phone numbers and resources that you need that you may need as a West Virginia lawyer, and this is included in the written materials. But if you think you need to speak to a healthcare provider, WVU Medicine is also offering virtual mental health visits, and you can visit wvumedicine.org for a list of providers and availability. And my biggest tip for you is there is no shame in asking for help. So here are the references for this presentation, but they're really great online resources. The first one by Dr. Feliciano is a great outline of a lot of the tips that I gave you today. And Tony Goody-Kuntz, also from WVU Medicine, has a great YouTube video out there on how to manage anxiety during the pandemic. Here are some more resources. And I put together also some additional online resources just to let you know that you have resources at both the local and national level, you know, from JLAP to the State Bar to the ABA to the CDC. They all have resources available to you.
Nice
Here's
feedback.
my contact information. If you need anything, if you think I can help in any way, please let me know. This is my office number, but it's connected to my cell number while I'm working from home. And if you want a copy of my slides or anything like that, please feel free to email me. And I leave you today with this West Virginia social distancing guide that just makes it so much clearer for us in West Virginia. And I just wanted to say good luck to everyone. You know that we're here for you if you need anything.
Harley, I would like to thank you and Robert for taking your time and effort to do this presentation. It's actually been awesome. Very much appreciated. For all those who may not have heard the beginning, this is 1 hour of CLE credit in attorney wellness that falls under one of the 4 qualifying areas of ethics, attorney wellness, office management, and elimination of bias. Probably later today or early next week, you will get an email from the State Bar. Remember that you must accept that email before it goes on your transcript. Thank you all again, and hope to have most of you and more for the session we have next Wednesday, April 29.